how. Your mirror neurons in your brain cannot tell that that wasn't true. That's why when we stress out, when we worry about something, our heart rate gets higher, our blood pressure gets higher, our palms start getting sweaty, our stomach starts to get knots because our brain cannot tell that the thing we're worried about isn't actually happening. Why the heck not use those same brain cells to help us create the life we do want? How about I take those same brain cells and start to imagine that I am already sitting at my beach house and I'm enjoying the view. I imagine hosting my retreats there. I'm imagining myself welcoming people and doing all of the things. And I'm creating that version of myself into existence.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast brought to you by focus-biz.com.
With us today is a peak performance coach and business strategist, LaChelle Wieme. She is passionate about helping people unlock their full potential. For over 15 years, she's been connecting with audiences as a motivational speaker, and for the past 6 years has had the privilege of guiding individuals and organizations through coaching and business consulting practice. So excited to have you on today. How are you doing, LaChelle?
I am so excited to be here, Chris. We're going to have the most amazing conversation. I just can feel it already.
I agree. Absolutely. Tell us more about your journey. What were you doing before that kind of led you into the direction you are on?
Here's the deal. I completely find myself now looking back at my life and thinking, who was I? I had gone to school for what seemed like 100 years to become a nurse anesthesiologist. I got my master's and then my doctorate degree. I was teaching as a professor for one of the best nurse anesthesia programs in the world and was doing everything that I thought I should do, right? I was checking off boxes. I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was doing all the things. And in 2016, I was introduced to my first opportunity to start an online business. I had no business starting a business. I had no flipping clue what I was doing. I was completely self-prescribed, introvert, awkward, had no social media presence, but I just felt this call. And it was one of those things where if you can't stop thinking about it, it's your soul trying to get your attention. I'm going to say yes to this, but I'm just going to trust that it's all going to work out, right? And what happened was it unlocked something inside of me that helped me to understand something that is called the and life. It's the life that we can feel challenged and fulfilled and understand that we're making an impact and be our present mom, wife, person, friend, all the things that I wanted to be. And I was realizing that I had been the mom that was tearing into the daycare center at the very last minute, hoping I wasn't going to get charged, constantly giving up life for Zoom calls at dinner, doing all the things that my mind felt like I should be doing, but didn't feel aligned. And entrepreneurship literally found me. And I found myself completely just enamored with the possibility of what that could be at the end. And in 2022, I finally got enough courage to make the big leap. And I left my full-time anesthesia career to do the coaching, the consulting. I've written a couple books since then, doing more speaking, all the fun things. But I got to tell you that I don't know if you guys that are listening can relate to this, but I feel my life was completely different, beautiful, fun adventure once I made that big jump. But I also felt like I was basically training my 9 to 5 for my 24/7. And I had been hustling for a while because I was always building my business alongside of my career and my role as mom and wife. I felt like I was working constantly. I had this illusion that as soon as I quit my job and I could focus 100% on my business, then all of a sudden I would have more balance. And that didn't happen. I don't know any other high achievers in the building. You meet a goal and then you hit another goal and then you hit another goal. And I found myself completely out of sorts and out of balance. And the more that I talk to people, the more that I realized that I wasn't alone, that we want to have the and life. And that's why oftentimes we go into entrepreneurship is because we want that financial and that time freedom. And I was able to really dissect what was working and what wasn't for me so that I could help myself and my clients be able to have way more fun, way more joy, way more ease in our business and not have to sacrifice success. That's kind of where I've been at. And I feel like I've been in the trenches and had to learn the hard way. But here I am, and I'm ready to help other people do the same.
I love it. It's a part of the experience and the journey. A lot of our entrepreneurs say sometimes they don't even know entrepreneurship was for them. They just kind of fell into it, but it was up to them. The door was open and they ran through it. But when it comes to kind of understanding our performance versus the output, sometimes we're just spinning our wheels. We feel like we're busy and we're putting in this time and effort, but it's not really producing results. How do we kind of focus our time and energy on those more beneficial results?
Honestly, it sounds super simple. It's simple, but not always easy. It really comes down to our ability to make decisions. Let me give you an example. Oftentimes I hear that my clients say, LaChelle, I am working so hard. I'm working so many long hours. I'm doing all the things. I'm doing everything the coaches are telling me to do. I'm doing all the things that the free challenge told me to do. And really, it comes down to being able to trust ourselves enough to say, just because the guru says I should do this doesn't mean that that's what I need to do. Right? Was really starting to learn how to discern and trust ourselves and our own intuition and be able to create our journey. When we can tap into that intuition and the higher knowing that we have access to, that we can start to create steps using the right aligned strategy versus the strategy that everybody else is telling us to do. And you can get 10 steps further by concentrating focused effort on the one thing. But it takes a decision to trust yourself. I've also recognized that oftentimes people are like, I'm burnt out, I'm frustrated, I'm not getting as far as I want to. And really it comes down to, are they charging what they're supposed to be charging? Oftentimes people undercharge because they're afraid that they're not ready or that they're not capable. Or when there's people that have half that talent are out there charging 5 times as much. And it comes down to, am I making the decision that I am worthy, that I am equipped, that I am strong, and I am capable of being able to charge what market is charging or more in order to do more with less time. And then the last one I see all the time is people's unwillingness to hire help. They don't delegate. They're afraid and they're not going to have enough sustainable income to be able to support that. They don't know how to onboard and that overwhelms them. They don't even start. And it really comes down to these very simple, am I making decisions from the future version of myself? Or am I letting myself overthink things into overwhelm? And that's why I'm struggling. And the thing is, I can get nerdy because I think that my secret sauce to everything I do with my clients is this combination of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture. And when I bring in the metaphysics into this, what people don't realize is that when you are overthinking and not trusting yourself, when you are overwhelmed and you're running on empty, you actually show up in your space, whether that be on a sales call, a podcast, even something as simple as typing an email or a post. Your energy of lack of confidence, your energy of lack of abundance is going to actually show up energetically in the output of what you're doing. Where you're doing all the things, but you're not doing them well and you're not doing them from an aligned higher energetic level. It's no wonder that it's not working. It really comes down to some of that.
Absolutely. And a lot of people wonder, as you mentioned, with following the guru's advice, when
Yeah.
we don't feel in our heart that it's the right fit, we're not going to be able to execute that idea very well. And just like you
Totally.
said, it may
Yeah.
not align with our morals or our mission. You have to find what lessons are within that video. It may not be the main principle that they're trying to teach you, but
Right.
there's something we can take away from that.
Yes. And I find that people really do struggle with their own intuition. And this is where I see this conflict with people. It's like, how do I know that it's just not aligned and that I should say no to this because it's just not right for me? Or how do I know that I'm just not sabotaging myself because I'm letting fear of something that seems scary or out of reach hold me back from actually doing it? And so they get stuck between these two. And therefore, they don't take any action. And that's one of the things I love to teach my clients how to do is how do you discern that? And I use some kind of fun things like muscle testing to help them basically answer yes, no questions with their body. And it's unbelievable how much that has helped people just be fine. I don't necessarily know how to do that, but I know that it's going to work out because I've had this confirmation with myself.
Yes, I love that. And are there certain clients that you work best with? Is it either certain industry or they're at certain stages in their business journey
Yeah.
themselves?
Right now, my primary group process is really help people that are solopreneurs, specifically service-based solopreneurs. And they're really just wanting to manifest consistent 10K months. They have been stuck for a while. They've been in business for a couple of years. They feel they've been doing all the damn things and I should be further along than now. Why isn't this working for me? And then what happens is that they burn themselves out because they think that it's a lack of strategy that they're missing, but really it's just all the things that we've talked about. And then they start to doubt themselves because they think maybe I don't have what it takes, or maybe this isn't for me. And it's really those people who have been in business for a couple of years, they are wanting to scale, but they want to do it in a way that feels aligned and fun and easy again. And that's what lights me up for sure.
Right, because you don't want to get to one piece of your goal, the financial side, just to find out I'm still burned out and unhappy.
No, that's not manifesting the best life, right? You have to have this beautiful synergy between who you are as a human, who you are in your relationships, who you are in your body and how you feel, as well as the abundance that you have. And if you're out of balance in those, you're going to have a false perception of what success feels like.
Absolutely. And I myself and others have mentioned just this kind of like the victim mentality where
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it feels like the
Yes.
world is against us and the market isn't right, the audience isn't right, they didn't really
Totally.
appreciate this or this. And it feels like we kind of play victim here. Is this a limiting belief? And how do we kind of get stuck out
One
of that?
totally 100%. One of the things that I've identified is I take my clients through what I call the flow state money method in order to get them to this manifestation of ease and flow. But the first part of that is really healing any of these unconscious, subconscious, or even conscious limiting beliefs that we might have. But before you can even do that, it's so cool that you asked this, Chris, is that before you can even do any of that, you have to really accept the fact that you get to be cause in the cause and effect relationship, that you get to be the one that creates the outcome that you have. And that the moment that you start to take accountability for your life and your situation, the moment that you start to take your power back, everything will shift. But if you consistently stay in the blame game and you allow your circumstances to have power over you, you're going to stay in that victim mentality. And kind of going back to the metaphysics, have you ever heard of this thing called emotional vibrational scale, Chris?
Not familiar, but I think the three words separately, I'm familiar with those.
It's kind of cool. MIT scientists have been able to measure how fast our body is vibrating, or the frequency of our body, based on the emotions that we have. Now, what's really cool in brain science is that it is our thoughts that create our emotions. Our thoughts are basically what are creating the vibration that our body has. And if you can take this back to 7th grade science class, we remember that atoms make up everything. That includes our body. And atoms are essentially a little nucleus with a bunch of electrons rotating around it. If you can imagine, there's things that are constantly rotating and vibrating in our body. But I am feelings that are associated with love, joy, peace, gratitude, freedom. I am going to be vibrating faster. My hertz, my frequency is higher. If I am thinking thoughts that lead to feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, shame, blame, guilt, my vibration is lower. My electrons are rotating slower. And I didn't plan this. This just happens. But if you even notice, my voice got lower and deeper when I talked about those other lower emotions versus the love, joy, peace, gratitude, freedom, just naturally because of the vibration that my body is taking in that space. If you are stuck in blame and victimhood, you are going to be vibrating a lower vibration. Why does that matter? If we take some quantum physics into the space, we can recognize that the things that are going to be aligned with that frequency, the low frequencies, are going to continue to show up in your life. This is why if I wake up and my alarm didn't go off, so I'm already late, right? Everybody took all the hot water. Now my shower is cold. I spill coffee on my shirt, and then I get pulled over on my way into work. Everything that could happen has happened to you. You've literally aligned yourself with the frequency of that crap. And if you can think about it, I'm older than you, but back when I was a kid, I used to listen to Casey Kasem in the Top 40 Countdown. And he'd be in his studio in LA, and I'd be in my little bedroom in Minnesota with my mixtape, right, ready to take it. But the point is that I had to tune into that frequency to be able to hear him on the Top 40. Same thing happens here. If you stay in victimhood, you are literally sabotaging your ability to align with the things that you want. Now, what's really cool about this is that if we look at that emotional vibrational scale, and there's a picture of it in my book, somebody is curious about it, and I have a free guide on my website too. But there's the scale, and the higher frequencies are at the top and the lower frequencies are at the bottom. And then we get to neutral. Anything above neutral and up is actually an empowered emotion. I feel excited. I feel passionate about something. I feel hopeful about something. But anything from neutral and below is a disempowered feeling. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I feel like everything is happening to me, right? That thought and those feelings are actually sabotaging your success. And then what happens is that our brain actually reinforces that. There's something in our brain called the reticular activating system, and that is going to filter out everything that it doesn't believe is true, right? I believe that I'm a victim. I am going to continue. My brain is going to filter out all the ways that I'm not, and it's going to only allow me to see that I'm a victim. And I'm going to continue to feed into that paradigm, and I'm going to stay in that lower vibration. So guess what, guys? You're going to stay stuck. Literally 100%. And the thing is, the moment that you can take your power back, and the moment you can say, how can I feel more empowered about this? What can I do from where I am with what I have how can I choose to rise above my circumstances? And I just got to say, this is a topic that I could geek out on for days. Those of you guys, I don't know if you can see me at all, but I have a ton of books behind me. I've read all of them. And I tell you that all of them, one are not nonfiction. I'm a nerd through and through, and self-admitting. But all of them nonfiction stories in those books have one thing in common. All the podcasts I listen to, all of the conversation I've had with successful people, one thing in common is that successful people do not allow themselves to stay victims to their circumstances. They figure out a way to rise above it. 100%. If you want the one theme that will lead to success in your life, it is that you get to decide if you're going to allow that thing, that person, to hold you back and disempower you, or are you going to choose to do what you can from where you are to rise above it? And I got to tell you that the more that you can acknowledge that, and you can let your thoughts create feelings that take you up that vibrational scale, you will start to align yourself then with the frequency of things that are going to turn things around. All of a sudden, you're going to meet people that are like, you completely changed my business. I have had downloads come out of nowhere that this is the idea for my business, or this is the idea for a podcast. I've had conversations with people that have literally changed everything that came out of nowhere. And this is because I've been able to align myself with that frequency, right? Then guess what happens? My reticular activating system is going to start to focus on that because that's what I'm starting to experience more. And it's going to reinforce it to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, but in a good way instead of the crappy ways.
Right. And you start attracting the ideal clients and the ideal people that are going to help you build your network if you're vibrating at a similar frequency.
Yes, all of that. I could just geek out on this stuff all day long because I've seen it happen over and over and over with clients and in my own life. And it's just crazy. As a person with an anesthesia background and as a scientific researcher, but what's the science behind this crap? What's this woo-woo stuff? Does it really work? And I started to dig into quantum theory. And now I get this, and now I apply it to what I'm doing, and I'm seeing massive success in less time because I'm stopped the resistance, and I'm stopped fighting things, and I'm stopped trying to force things, and I'm letting things happen in a way that feels aligned. Instead of saying yes to all the strategies, I'm saying yes to the one that is right for me.
I wanted to ask more about your experience when you've seen either, do you see gurus who are on more of the positive frequency where they're using excitement, hope, and positivity versus those who might be using fear, uncertainty, and doubt as part of their own tactics? Do you find one is better than the other, or just are there certain creators that are just too far on one side that you're like, I can't believe you because you're too positive? Or you're negative, I can never follow you?
I think that this is such a great question. First off, I'm just going to say that one of the things that I teach my clients to do when it comes to decision making, we're going to kind of bring it back to that part of the conversation, is that you have to ask yourself what is motivating your decision. And you should always make your decision based off of love and not fear. I just had a client recently that called me up and she's like, I'm supposed to go to this conference, I'm supposed to speak, but it just doesn't feel right. And I'm like, well, what would you love and what are you afraid of? And she's like, I'm afraid I'm going to let people down. I'm afraid I'm going to miss out. When she recognized that she really just wanted to not go so that she could be there with her son because he needed her and made that decision out of love, she made the decision, she felt like 1,000 pounds lighter. Making your decision out of love, not fear, is always a wise way to start. People can know that, though. There's people who are really smart marketers and they will choose to use fear as a tactic. And I find that that is one of the reasons why we get sucked into the resistance and the scarcity and the hustle, because we allow fear to make those decisions. And so if I notice those things that are being used as tactics that's actually not aligned with me energetically anymore, and I don't resonate with that at all. I obviously am seeing you coming from a place of scarcity if that's the tactic that you're trying to do, and that doesn't align with me. I also believe that you have to be real and you have to be authentic. And if I'm just trying to paint the picture that is not going to give you, a realistic perspective, then I'm not serving you either. Do you know what I'm saying? Servant leadership is doing what you need, not just what you want. But I also believe that I'm going to take this into one step further when we talk about metaphysics and quantum physics. And if we think about one of the most powerful universal laws that we can use for peak performance is the law of assumption. The law of assumption is us acting as if we are already the person that we want to be. If I wake up and I've been determined what this person, me, looks like 5 years from now. She's running a multi-million-dollar business. She has all this time. She has a beach house in North Carolina, and she has this and that. She has all the things, right? I'm using her as my inspiration. Then I get up in the morning and I say, well, what would she do? Would she hit her snooze button? Or would she go back to sleep for another half hour? Would she grab that extra glass of wine at night, or would she have some water instead? How does she show up on her sales calls? How does she present herself in social media? That is really purposeful delusion.
Right. It's like being the change you want to be.
It is, but people are like, that's not true. You're right. Yet in quantum space, there is no past, present, or future. It all is now. And I don't want to get into all the weirdness, but I will say, though, is that I have to believe that I have a beach house in North Carolina, even though I don't yet. I just know that I do. I just haven't found it yet. And that's delusional to some. But wait a minute, give me your stats and give me your blah, blah. I don't know how. And that's the fourth step to manifestation, is acting as if you just know it's going to happen without any proof. It's the faith in action. And it's just allowing yourself the knowing and then acting as if it's already here. That could be perceived as this false positivity, but there's so much brain science behind it that I don't view it like that. That is intention behind it. Because in our brain, we have these cool things called mirror neurons. Are you familiar?
Only a little.
Mirror neurons cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Let me give you a quick example, you guys. They're all listening. Chris is listening. If I were to have you imagine that you were picking up a lemon, you cut it in half, you take the half the lemon slice, you put it in your mouth, and you bite down. Is your mouth watering?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How? Your mirror neurons in your brain cannot tell that that wasn't true. That's why when we stress out, when we worry about something, our heart rate gets higher, our blood pressure gets higher, our palms start getting sweaty, our stomach starts to get knots, because our brain cannot tell that the thing we're worried about isn't actually happening. Why the heck not use those same brain cells to help us create the life we do want? How about I take those same brain cells and start to imagine that I am already sitting at my beach house and I'm enjoying the view. I imagine hosting my retreats there. I'm imagining myself welcoming people and doing all of the things. And I'm creating that version of myself into existence. Now what happens is that my brain starts to say, well, that must be true. And now it takes on that identity, right? And that identity is what your reticular activating system is based on. It's going to start to see things in the outside world that match that identity versus the one that's stuck in my 9-to-5 that I hate. And my boss is on my back and all the things. These are just really cool things that are backed by science. And they're proving that successful people tap into this stuff. They use their brain for things that are going to benefit them. And there's no reason that the rest of us can't too.
Right. Absolutely. And for those who want more of a life like this and to start leading that path, where can they find out more about you and get connected with you online?
Thanks. My name is not always easy to pronounce, but it's easy to find. You can find me at LaChelle Wieme everywhere on all the social media places, as well as my website, LaChelleWieme.com. And I would love to invite any of you guys over. Say hi. It's so much fun. I have my own podcast and I get to be on these amazing shows like what Chris is doing. And I just want you to say hi. Hey, I heard you here and this is what I thought about it. It's just really fun. Connectedness and meeting people and being on a journey with others is what lights me up. And I would love for you to say hi for sure.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Having that community just builds each other up. We can have these connections and start to get excited about life and business because it can be a little bit stressful sometimes, right?
Yes, it totally can. You're not alone. Because sometimes as business owners, we think if only they knew that I'm falling apart inside, or I feel I'm the only one. And that's not true. You guys just know that you have Chris and you have this community, and reach out to me too.
If there was one thing that you would recommend other business owners to start focusing on at that next level, what would that one thing be?
Honestly, it comes back to making your decisions. And I'm going to ask you to make decisions based off of love, not fear. And ask yourself, what would your future version of yourself do if she were given or he were given the opportunity to make that decision? Oftentimes we think that things are harder than they are. And I just want you to make that decision from an empowered place. Hire the damn person, quit the job, do the scary thing, and then just celebrate the fact that you made that decision and while other people are staying stuck.
Right. Absolutely. Just need to take action, make that decision, and it's going to take you a bit further than those who didn't. Now it's Q2 in 2025. What are you excited about or looking forward to wrap up 2025? Are you doing anything different or new, or are you kind of amping up everything that you're currently doing?
I feel like I always have what feels 100,000 things going on at once. But I feel the things that I'm really excited about is I'm starting my next book, which I'm really excited is all going to be about the flow state money method and beating resistance and getting into flow, but in a way that's backed by science and applicable. I'm excited for that. I'm saying yes to more stages, which has been fun. And then I'm also creating a really amazing high-end mastermind for people that are further along in business, but want to really take it to the next level and understand manifestation principles. Kind of personal project that I want to do so I can have really great conversations with people who get it.
It's the natural evolution from helping solopreneurs at the 10K into that next scaling phase,
Yeah.
which is very exciting.
It's so fun.
Absolutely. Well, LaChelle, we appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom and journey with us. We appreciate it. Is there anything we haven't asked you yet that you wanted an opportunity to share the floor on?
I just am really grateful, you guys, and I want you all to know that one of the things that I've recognized, and my programs are called Spiral Up because I believe that we can continue to spiral up on our journey. And oftentimes we allow things to make us spiral down. I want you to just recognize that forward momentum is key. What can I do right now? If it was easy, what would be one next decision that I can make to take the next step and to just keep myself in forward momentum? I also want to just point out that in your journey as an entrepreneur, if you can think about it like a spiral, you're going to go around curves and you're going to possibly bump up against those old bruises, the imposter syndrome, the fear of failure, the things that happen. And as you spiral up, what'll happen is as you grow, you're going to find that you're going to recognize those things faster and you're going to pivot faster. But it doesn't mean that you're ever going to be immune from them. And I think that sometimes people think that they should be further along or that I shouldn't have to think about this imposter syndrome anymore. And that's crap. And then what happens is we shame ourselves and guilt ourselves and we take ourselves down this spiral of the emotional vibrational scale. I just want to remind you guys that you're doing great. And just keep up with that forward momentum, keep spiraling up, take one simple action at a time, and you got this. I believe in you.
I love it, LaChelle. We appreciate it. Thank you for the hype talk, for the inspiration and the wisdom. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.